Good morning. Please take your seat. Thank you very much. I was just telling Pastor that we should just go and do the fair, network, connect with each other, and just chew on the wisdom that has already been shared, because we don't need any further instruction, any further ideas given what has been shared already. So I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to come and share with you. When I see the two words put together, for me, you can't have anything better than that. It's an enterprise and employment fair. And that's what we're all engaged in. Either you're working for someone, or you're running your own business, or you're hoping to start your own business. So that's the journey. And I believe that today, by God's grace, we would all learn a thing or two that will help us pivot and adapt quickly in a rapidly changing environment. So I will share with you a couple of stories and then talk about what I perceive are the critical issues in enterprise and employment, what is changing in terms of the positives and the negatives, and then we will look at how do we pivot and adapt. But let me start with the first story. We're in church, so we can always talk about parables, but I'm talking about a different parable here. Yes. So have you heard of the parable of the boiled frog? Yeah. So when a frog is in water and you start to increase the temperature of the water, the frog will adapt. You increase the temperature slightly, the frog will adapt. You increase, you turn it up 30 degrees, the frog will adapt. You turn it up 35, the frog will adapt. 40, the frog will adapt. 50, the frog will adapt. It will adapt until the water becomes so hot and the frog will die. It was adapting anyway, but the frog adapted until its death. But when you put a frog in hot water, it will jump out. Rather, when it's already in the water and you start dialing up the temperature, it will adapt until it dies. So, when we talk about adapting, we need to be very radical. Because if you go the way of the frog, you may be adapting, but eventually you will die, even though you adapted. And so we're talking about radical adaptation and radical pivoting. So when I think about enterprise and employment, three things come to mind. And Pastor talked about them. And so I can then leverage on that. It's about work. Enterprise and employment is about work. And it's through our work that we also create wealth. Whilst we are working and creating wealth, we also need to pay attention that we do not jeopardize our well-being. So I see three things critical for all of us here. Whether you are working, or you are running your own business, or you want to start a business, or you are changing jobs, or you're looking for opportunity, or you are studying. Work, wealth, and well-being. So I'm going to talk about what's rapidly changing in the world of work and wealth and well-being, so that when we have a clearer perspective, we can talk about how to adapt. What's changing in work? there are a lot of positive changes. I mean, now you can almost work from home and do work anywhere in the world. There's a lot of flexibility about work. We were on that path already, and COVID accelerated. So now we all know. I mean, I have sat here in my office, not far from Kingdom Expression, and I've been selected to lead an organization in Africa, and we have recruited people from across Africa. I have onboarded them via virtual channels. I have deployed them. They work, they deliver work, and they get paid. I haven't met any of them apart from seeing their faces in rectangular boxes online. So we can do work from anywhere. That's a rapidly changing positive aspect of work. We have so many productivity tools available that makes it very easy to do work. And yesterday I was speaking to an older person, probably maybe even at 80, and he was telling me about all these digital tools available that we can use for our work and makes life easier. And number 3, we have choice and options. We don't have to take that for granted. Because not long ago, if your father was a carpenter, you will likely be a carpenter. That's what it was. If your father was a farmer, yeah, you join him on the farm. But now we have choice and options. And you can really, like the way they do it on LinkedIn, you know, you are a talent enthusiast. At the same time, you're a photographer. You are a food lover. You are a consultant. I mean, you can be everything. So kind of sports for choice. That's positive. And we need to be grateful. But there are also some negative aspects of work. Now we get into offices and we're all working in a hierarchy. So you have a boss. And sometimes you may not have the best of bosses, who may not expose you, who may not give you the opportunities that you deserve, who may not recommend you for promotion, and may make work really difficult for you. There's a pressure to achieve targets. And even though now we're working in a pleasant environment, it's as if work is now becoming similar to what we experience in sweatshops, just that now it's cold. You know, we get into an office, air conditioned, 7 a.m. We stay in that office till 7 p.m. and then we drive home. And we're working. That's a negative aspect of work. The fact that we have the tools, we have created an environment, doesn't mean that that's how work has to be. And so we need to think about how we respond and adapt to that rapidly changing environment. Because you can also sit at home and work all day because you have all the tools that you have available to you to work. And you may not even see the night fall, and you may be in your room working. So there are positives and there are negatives. And for us, because we're having this session here, we're people of faith, we can't ignore the role of work in our lives. Because as Christians, work is sacred. We're partners with our Creator in establishing and preserving this earth until He comes to call us home. And whatever we do, we must do it with pure joy, as if doing it unto the Lord. And so the work that we give ourselves to must be something that brings us joy. And it's important that we design it as such, no matter what's happening in our external environment. Let me talk about wealth, because we're talking about work, wealth, and well-being. There is also a lot of rapid changes taking place in the area of wealth. Income inequality is widening. I don't even have to quote any numbers from anywhere. Just yesterday, our own statistical service, Ghana Statistical Service, said that there are 7.3 million people in real poverty with no access to meaningful education and health and employment. 7.3 million people out of about 30 million people. So 1 out of 4 persons in Ghana, not from any political institution, this is from the Ghana Statistical Service, says that they are living in poor conditions. There is also a survey done across Africa, and 1/3 of people living in Africa are stressed because of the rising cost of living. That's the rapid change we're dealing with. Even when you have worked so hard and you're trying to put yourself together in terms of wealth, there comes a rapid change, and sometimes it's called a haircut. And your investments, you can't account for everything. So we need to think carefully about how we pivot and adapt. But on the flip side, there are great opportunities, because really in our world today, we have every opportunity to create wealth. It's happening in Ghana. It's happening globally. Not all wealth that's being created is from a loot. Some are being created with honesty and diligence. So there are opportunities. Let me just share this with you just to put it in perspective. I don't know whether you've heard of the company called NVIDIA. NVIDIA is recent. Started in 1993. You know, we know of the Microsoft and the Google and the Facebooks and the Apples and the General Motors and all of that. But NVIDIA now, 1993 till now, is now the largest company in the world, valued over trillions of dollars. From nowhere. They are not looting anyone. They are producing chips. And we're holding all these gadgets that need the chips. We need these AI tools. And they are producing the chips that are being used in all these gadgets. And so, they're making money. There is a company called Novodix. Well, they happen to come up with a good, because people are buying it, a good weight loss drug, Ozempic. And now, the company from nowhere is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies across the globe. So there are opportunities to create wealth. I mean, all of us now, each one of us, we have a TV channel on our own. 20 years ago, you have to queue and have a lot of money to pay to put your advert on TV, because there were only 3, 4, 5 channels available. Now you have a TV channel, which is YouTube. You have a Facebook account. You have an Instagram account. And so, you can put up your product. And it's possible that 1 million people, 2 million people, 3 million people from South Oyarifa can see your product. So there are real opportunities. And Pastor just talked about this. We're talking about well-being. We're connected, yet we're lonely. We're connected, yet we're lonely. Because we're connecting through gadgets. and we're losing our humanity. So our well-being is affected. Work that was supposed to bring us joy, a sense of connection, a meaning, expression of our faith. We're not engaged in it the way we should. And so work has become stressful for many people. So how do we navigate? How do we pivot? Work, wealth, and well-being. Let's take a couple of ideas. Because I believe that we're not only pivoting and adapting today to respond to this change, and that's okay. Remember the frog that was trying to adapt. The temperature will be increased all the time. And so you need to be ready to be adapting all the time. So really, you adopt a posture of being adaptive. So you become this adaptive entrepreneur, adaptive professional, because of the way you lead and the practices you have. And Pastor talked about mindset and practices, and I'm going in the same direction, adding to what has been said. So what should be your mindset, and what practices should you have so you can, in this rapidly changing world with all its challenges and troubles, you can have work that brings you the wealth and also not sacrificing your well-being. And I see that, I put it in 3 circles, so all the 3 circles actually overlapping. So your work gives you the wealth you need, and it also gives you the well-being. Not that you're working, you're stressed, it's not giving you the wealth you need, or you're working, it's giving you the wealth you need, but you are stressed, you don't have well-being. Or you have wealth, but the work you're doing is not meaningful to you. And so really, you are asking yourself, is this all God wanted me to do? All the 3 must overlap. How do we do that? And I told you we have to be radical. So the ideas I'm going to propose, as simple as they are radical. And because we are in church, I can easily propose those ideas. Number 1, you have to become restless. You have to become restless. This takes me to Genesis 27:40. Genesis 27:40. Long story short, because we're in church, someone had sold his birthright. Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. And it's time. Isaac is about to die. He wants to pass on the blessing. And then, we don't want to go into all the details of the story. Somebody goes to take a blessing. And indeed, you've sold the birthright. So somehow, he goes to take the blessing. Jacob goes and he's blessed. Esau comes from the field. Isaac realizes that he's given the blessing not to Esau but to Jacob. And the Bible says that Isaac was trembling. An old man. And Esau crying and asking, begging, don't you even have one more blessing for me? And if you read Genesis 27:40, it says clearly that this man I have blessed will rule over you. But when you become restless, you will break the yoke. So, even though we're in church, I dare submit to you that when it comes to enterprise and employment, work, wealth, and well-being. We're not waiting for another blessing. It's not time for another prayer meeting. You have to become restless. You have to become restless. That's what it is. That's what Isaac told Esau. Until you become restless. Well, if you continue down the story, we saw that Esau broke the yoke because there was a meeting. And the report that came to Jacob was that your brother is coming to meet you and he has 400 men with him. And if you read the account, Esau had become very successful. And even when Jacob wanted to offer something back, he says, no, take it. I have enough. So, you have to determine not to accept the status quo. You can't blame anyone. You can't beg. You can't cry. All of those will not solve the problem. It's rapidly changing. We may vote. We may not vote. Party A will come, party B will go. It's rapidly changing. You have to decide what you're going to do. And be restless, looking for a change, never settling. Always being ready. Whether you are in an enterprise by yourself, pursuing an enterprise, or you are working for someone, being restless and making sure that my work is making a contribution. It's up to you. You have to make that happen. So, on the path to becoming restless, one mindset that you need, and it's from the work I do and what I have observed, and really because of the rapidly changing nature of work, you need a CEO mindset. You need a CEO mindset. And by that, I don't mean it's not a position that you have to become a CEO. Now, all of us are CEOs. All of us are CEOs. Because you are deciding to offer your skill in the marketplace. And you are the CEO. You are branding the skill. You are packaging the skill. You are pricing the skill. You are developing the skill. So you need a CEO mindset. You are not an employee. How do CEOs do this? I mean, I see CEOs, they do it all the time. Of course, some do it really well, some don't do it well, but they are doing it. CEOs are always thinking about the value addition. I mean, in all of us who are employed, when you go to your CEO, even the one that you feel is not really working, I mean, they're always thinking about what's the value, what's the cost, what's the benefit. They're always looking at their financial statement. What are my assets? What are my liabilities? What are my expenses? What's my income? And same, you have the same. You have the same. Every CEO, June is about to end. Half year, you'll be preparing your half year accounts, your half year report, and you want to find out what has come in. How much have I spent? What investments did I make? Same way as a CEO of Robert Bennin Incorporated, which is me, half year, I need to sit back and ask myself, how much came in by way of the work I'm doing? How much did I expense? What investments did I make to build value in this business, which is me? What are my assets? What are my liabilities? How do I leverage my assets? How do I reduce the liabilities so that I'm a valuable brand in the marketplace? We're all CEOs. So you are always evaluating your options. You are always prioritizing. Somebody told me, Accra stay by plan. You cannot you cannot live without a plan. Every month you are doing this. Worst case scenario every quarter. Well, if you half year, well, end of year. But you can't ignore that and beginning of the year set New Year resolutions and you go off and that's the end. No, given what's happening now, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. You need a CEO mindset. You're always thinking resource allocation. So I look at my time, 24 hours. Okay, so how am I allocating this 24 hours? Because that's what you have. That's the resource God has given to you. Number 3, we need to get real knowledge. We need to get real knowledge. If you permit me to talk about learning, we're going to spend a lot of time here. I had a session with a law firm. I mean, that's the first time it's happened and it hasn't happened again. I had a session with a law firm. It's gone well. We've done also great conversations. We've done a lot of player activities. Brilliant. We're sitting in a boardroom, coming to the end of the day. Question times, any questions, and someone takes the floor. Very emotional. He says, I've done all that I need to do. I was told that I need to study. Yeah, I have a law degree. I've even gone outside. I've gone to do my master's. I come to work. I'm working hard. Yet, I can't put it all together. In the midst of all her colleagues, everybody, founder of the firm, all sitting at the table. And we had to pass the tissue to her. This person is not alone. This person demonstrated it publicly, but really that's the scenario with many of us. And we need to start getting real learning. What do I mean by learning? Learning is failing on your way to mastery. Learning is failing on your way to mastery. So, if you tell me that you've studied for a master's degree, you have a distinction, it's not true learning. It's not true learning. Because the issue is, we do not have a knowledge problem. We do not have a knowledge problem. I spoke in a session like this in a school, and a student was there, level 300. After she came to me, she talks about her passion. And I said, but then why don't you start a mentorship session in this university, which has no mentorship program, peer mentorship program? We start the conversation. In 6 months, she has started a mentorship program in a public university, and it's running. She has advertised, put the program together, advertised, she's had mentees, she's advertised, she's had mentors, peer mentors, she's trained them, she's matched them, and students are receiving mentoring from peer mentors. She doesn't have a degree yet. She doesn't have a degree in mentoring. She doesn't have a degree in counseling. She doesn't have nothing. So we do not have a knowledge problem. Learning is failing on your way to mastery. The challenge is that most of us are not willing to fail. If you are not willing to fail, you will not learn. Because really, if we look at the challenges we're dealing with, you will fail. You will fail. No matter how much you pray, you will fail. No matter how much you fast, you will fail. You will fail on your way to mastery. It's just unfortunate that we read the stories at the end, at the peak, but we've forgotten all the failures. Thomas Edison, the bulb comes up, and then we're all smiling. Now we have the light. But there were so many failures on the way to mastery. And if you are afraid to fail now, how then achieve mastery? So we need to get real learning, not certificates. And that real learning, it happens by practice, actually engaging with people, putting yourself out there. When you're scared, that's when the learning is taking place, because you're scared. And they say, you are an imposter. Yes, you are an imposter. Simply because what you're doing is new. Nobody has done it. You haven't done it, and you are attempting to do it. So you'll be scared, you'll be afraid. And you do it. You fail. Yes, you learn, and then you continue. Because we're in cycles. This is evolving. So we will continue. So, if you want to thrive in this rapidly changing environment that is treacherous, then what I can tell you is this. What I know is that almost any fishing vessel can thrive in any sea, so long as those who are steering the vessel make the study of the weather and the steering of the vessel part of their vocation, in addition to catching fish. Yeah, let me explain. So long as you make the study of the vessel and the steering of the vessel part of your vocation, in addition to catching fish, you will succeed. Because some of us, we're just focused on catching the fish. We've forgotten about the fact that we actually need to study the weather. We've forgotten the fact that we need to actually learn how to steer this vessel. So we need to get real learning about what's changing. And Pastor talked a bit about that. Institutionalizing your listening, which is a critical part of learning. Without learning, we can't do much. Every individual, every organization, every society evolves with learning and leadership. We can't do much without learning. And I've said it. Learning is not going to get another degree. Because we do not have a knowledge problem. We do not. The knowledge for everything you want to do is already available. You're just scared to try. That's all. You think you'll fail. Your friends are watching. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. This is not possible. It's not me. It's not my destiny. I'm waiting to hear from God. That's how the Christians are using to just excuse their inactivity. I'm waiting to hear from God. And it's not, how would you fault a person who says he's waiting to hear from God? Hey, you mere mortal, the person says he's waiting to hear from God. What do you tell the person? So he's waiting. We need to start learning. That's all we need to do. We need to start learning. We need to start learning. I'm going to wrap up. I mean, if we want to pivot and adapt, then work is work. Work is work. You know, I said the ideas I'm sharing, simple but radical. You have to be restless. You need to have a CEO mindset. You need to get real learning. And work is work. Because it's work. It's hard. It's demanding. It won't be easy. No matter how you want to glorify it, make it nicer, make it seem, not bad. Work is work. You are creating. Even on the seventh day, he rested. He was tired, so he had to rest. Work is work. Work is work. It will take a lot from you. So if you want to go it easy, think that, Charlie, you can just navigate giving yourself just a little here, a little there, and still have a great work, have wealth, and have well-being, nah lie. It's not going to happen. I'm a Methodist. So we sing hymns. Methodism was born in songs. Go labor on. Spend and be spent. It's work. So it means that you're diligent. You have practices. You spend effort. And because now we don't go to the farm, you have to be mindful how you're spending effort. Because when I say work is work, then it's not necessarily, now start digging so you are sweating and then we see that, you are working hard. No. You give your mind to something and you're able to stay your mind on it. You don't lose focus and your mind drifts and shifts. No, we're working with the mind. And that's hard. And you need to train yourself to not give up on resolving the issue at hand. And that's what Pastor said. That's our humanity. Because otherwise you lose out. The AI will not get tired. Scripture is coming true every day. When you were told, consider it all joy. When you come against all trials, and then you go to work, a customer just comes, say something small, you are annoyed, you are angry. I mean, how does that scripture apply? This is not even a trial. This is just a customer just coming to say you are angry. And AI will never get angry. He will respond, oh, madam, I'm sorry you feel this way. Can I also do this for you? That's how the AI will respond. You are angry. And then you go to the back office and you don't show up in 5 minutes because you are angry. Yeah, you will lose your job. That's the reality we're dealing with. So really, in today's world, the real people who will survive are those who have the mind of Christ. Given what's happening now, without the mind of Christ, you will struggle. But we have the mind of Christ. That's what it is. You will struggle big time. This is not going to change. We don't know. We're just, that's the one we can pray for. We pray that God will intervene divinely because these people and what they are doing. But then you have to be restless. You need to have a CEO mindset. You are in charge. You take the lead. You're not waiting for anyone. It's your mission. It's your assignment. That's what God has given to you. You start learning, knowing that, yeah, it may take a while, but I need to be on this journey. And I'm learning from everyone. It's real learning. And finally, recognizing that work is work. You know, the fact that you can take an Uber, you know, and go wherever you're going, and then be able to go and sit at KFC and buy your KFC and enjoy. That doesn't mean that that's all there is to life. No. No, not at all. And here I'm speaking to my young friends. That's not all there is to work. Yeah, we understand. You've seen what we have gone through, your parents have gone through, struggling every day, going to work, doing all this hard work, and really maybe not much coming out. So you are coming to this with some level of education and thinking that, well, we can navigate this better. Yes, I agree. But work is work. It can't be any easier. And you can't just sleepwalk your way through it and do work that's meaningful, impactful in a continent that needs your faith and your impact and make wealth and have a better well-being. We need to using all God has made us to be. And for me, that's the most important difference for us in this room. Using all that God has made us to be. Using all that God has made us to be. For impact, for influence, for change. Because that's what we should be. We are the salt and light of the world. We do it through our enterprise and through our employment. If we lose our enterprise and employment, we lose our work, we lose our wealth, we lose our well-being. We cannot pass this faith to the next generation. And we may have to answer for that. Because this is what we have. It's been passed on to us. We need to extend it. We can only do it through our work, our wealth, and our well-being. Thank you very much.